Today we're going to talk about Goodwill Industries, the good parts, the dark parts that a lot of people don't know about, the psychology, and most importantly, how it can actually help your small business.
Show Goodwill think about sub-minimum wage and how it's wrong and needs to be eliminated.
Goodwill pays many of its employees with this.
They feel that we are being discriminated
This program was
against.
established under the Roosevelt administration, with
Employers could legally pay pennies per hour.
22 cents an hour.
Takes people and systematically tells them they're not as good as the rest of the workforce.
That's ridiculous.
While some Goodwill workers are making pennies, the CEO of Goodwill Industries of Southern California took home $1.1 million. $1.1 million.
Accused of stealing from the nonprofit he was supposed to be leading.
First, let's start with the history. In 1902, a pastor named Edgar Helms started Goodwill in Boston, really just collecting things from wealthier people to distribute kind of for free or a very low cost to poor people. That evolved into what is known as Goodwill Industries. But since way back then, over 100 years ago to today, there's been massive controversy, all kinds of hoopla on the internet, and really some important marketing and psychology lessons that we can learn from Goodwill. But let me ask you this. Did you know that they do about $5 billion in revenue? They train around 300,000 people per year for jobs, although that's part of the controversy. So let's dig into it a little bit. A lot of people say that there's controversy in the dark side to Goodwill, and I kind of see their point with some of the things. I'll throw some of it out there so you can decide. Number one is that about 7,300 of their over 100,000 employees get paid less than minimum wage. There's some laws that allow for paying, way less than minimum wage for people with certain disabilities and handicaps and things. And so there's two sides to the argument, right? Is it ethical to pay someone $2 an hour? Or I even read an article where someone made as little as 22 cents an hour. I don't remember what year that was, but is that ethical? Or should they just not be allowed to do it? Because the way that I see that particular controversy is these are jobs that are otherwise unavailable to these people, right? So if someone can't get regular employment, at least they have some option with Goodwill, but some people don't like that. They've also had some safety complaints. There's some employees that were killed actually by working at Goodwill, which seems weird, but they have these big industrial balers and these machines that are dangerous. But any organization with over 100,000 staff is going to have things happen like that. It's very sad. We don't want it to happen. No one's celebrating that it happened. But to me, it seems nitpicky. And then there's been a couple of comments on the internet saying that the CEO makes $20 million a year, which seems kind of sketchy for an organization like Goodwill. But when we researched it with my team, he makes like $500,000 or $600,000 a year from what we could tell. And when you're in charge of 100,000 staff with thousands of locations, an international organization, that's not a lot of money, right? So the controversy part, it's not perfect. For me, I don't really see it. I guess what's interesting for me as a small business owner is some of the things that have recently been happening with Goodwill, which is the rise of thrifting, the rise of the thrifter. Social platforms like TikTok have popularized thrifting in a big way. I mean, there's more people getting back into eBay now. There's young kids like my son Tucker, who's 15, makes thousands of dollars going thrifting and then selling things that are more valuable on eBay and making a profit. And it's a really cool business opportunity for a kid. But some people make the argument that it's bad for the poor people in certain markets. Goodwill as an industry is a
What are you doing?
I'm making a video, bro. You're messing it up.
What are you making it about?
It's about Goodwill, and actually, you might be able to help me make it better. Are you up for a little challenge potentially?
Oh, yeah. Do you need some investigating?
We need some investigative journalism, and I don't know, the psychology behind Goodwill, the good and bad parts, the way they pay their staff tiny prices, the way they cherry pick some of the best items and sell them online for maximum profit, the thrifting revolution, this whole subculture that you're a part of. Why don't you run over there and check things out for me?
I heard all of that, so hopefully the team remembered all that, because I'm just gonna, all I heard is, wow, wow, wow. Go to Goodwill, Ashlee.
Yeah, have fun, just take cameras with you.
Have fun? Did I hear spend money at Goodwill?
It's a business expense, it's for research.
Let's go, let's go. Let's go treasure hunting. Treasure hunting at its finest. Okay, I'm gonna take Tucker. I'm gonna try to take Tucker.
Okay.
Gonna take Tucker?
Yeah, okay. Tucker's your right-hand thrifter, man.
No, we gotta get the expert involved.
Well, let's see what Ashlee comes up with. Where did I leave off? Again, I don't see the downside of that. I think people just like to complain on the internet. But when I look at Goodwill, I see a ton of psychological lessons for all business owners, because my wife is a thrifter. And I think part of it's because we started out in a trailer park, and you can take the girl out of the trailer park. You can't take the trailer park out of the girl. She loves to get a deal. But, you know, upon further review, a lot of my wealthiest friends, they also love to get a deal. So what's interesting is Goodwill is really not just a store for poor people. It's a store for people that want to find a treasure. And really, when you're selling stuff as a local small business owner, how do you make your stuff feel like a treasure? How do you make your customer feel like they're in the right place at the right time? My wife, she goes digging for treasures with her friends at different thrift stores. And there's different levels of thrift stores. Maybe Goodwill's on the lower rung, but there's high-end thrift stores where you can pay $1,000 for a woman's dress, but maybe that dress was originally $10,000 or $12,000. And, you know, I think part of the lesson with Goodwill is that people love to find deals, and there's a real community around this idea of thrifting. Let's talk about the thrifting community, okay? These people are nerds. It's a whole subculture. If you're not part of it, you might not know it exists. It's big. It's a whole thing. They have their own insider language. They do meetups with each other. There's Facebook groups. They like to argue. There's like all this opportunity to be influencers inside the thrifter culture. Did you even know that's a thing? It's wild, but I'm not surprised, because humans are tribal. That's what we are. And whether it's your local town in the country club or it's your local town in the trailer park, people are tribal, and there's hierarchies everywhere, which I think is really interesting. You know, and I think the culture of thrifters really is predicated on treasures and jewels. They want to find treasures because it feels like they found a hidden jewel, right? They like to go look. They like to find a good deal. And what some small business owners might not realize is that even affluent or wealthy customers, they love to find good deals too. You know, that doesn't change because it's just human to feel like you're in the right place at the right time, right? And you're getting a good deal, whether it's a $50,000 custom built grill for your back patio because you're a rich guy, or it's a pair of shoes. So how are you making your offer feel like that for your customers? The right place, the right time, that they're extra special, that they're part of a cool kids club, so to speak. You know, these types of elements, as silly as it might sound from Goodwill, apply to really any business. Another controversy, plaguing Goodwill is this idea that they, are messing up landfills and they ship a lot of stuff overseas. So when you donate computers and junky broken electronics, what happens to them? Well, I guess it goes in the landfill. But, on the flip side of that, people use Goodwill like a garbage dump, and people are lazy, and so they just drop off junk. That happens all the time. It's one of the downsides of being a Goodwill. It's not that everybody dropping things off is doing it out of the kindness of their heart and being generous with some of their great merchandise that they're gifting to Goodwill. They kind of drop off their trash. So, some of it's going to go in the landfill. Some of it gets shipped overseas if it's not as good, to maybe third world countries. And people don't like that. They say that it's bad. I don't know why it's bad to sell those for pennies to people that need them. So I'm not really sure. And then another controversy comes from thrifters themselves. See, they're mad at Goodwill because Goodwill has been cherry picking some of the most valuable items that are donated and selling them on the internet first. And if I was the CEO of Goodwill, it's exactly what I would do, because you'd maximize your profit. But you see, they say it hurts the local community, that people need the good deals. Just remember that because someone has money doesn't mean that they don't want a good deal. I remember I tried to sell a $300 window cleaning to a pro golfer. Okay, I'll leave his name out. But he lived in Michigan. He had a $200,000 boat in his driveway. He had a beautiful McMansion, and he started arguing with me about the price. And I had my junky little car, and I was just happy to meet a pro golfer. I left pretty disappointed. But window cleaning wasn't important to him. This same guy that was trying to get me to do it for $200 instead of $300 and was trying to, talk me down on my price, the same guy would pay $5,000 for a single golf club. And so the lesson in that is that people value different things differently. All of us like a good deal with certain things, and all of us are willing to pay a premium for certain things. Even poor people pay premiums. In a way, you could say that poor people are luxury buyers in certain categories. If you go into the inner city, you'll notice that people spend a huge disproportionate amount of their income on shoes, for example, because that category means something to that person, right? So next time you're in a big fancy neighborhood and you get frustrated that they're not buying your stuff, ask yourself, are you making this feel like a treasure? Are you targeting the right people at the right time with the right message? Because humans are complicated. It's not as simple as rich and poor. It's not as simple as Goodwill is good or bad. It's more complicated than that. You know, marketing is fun. It's easier to make money when you're having fun. I'm glad we got to do this little adventure today, and I wish you the very best the rest of this year.